Hey, can I pay you a percentage of the grant once we get it? That's a question that a lot of grant writers get from nonprofit leaders that are seeking to get grant funding. And I want to address that question in this video. But before I do so, I want you to imagine the following. Imagine that your board of directors have come to you and they say, you know what, we are going to give you a raise, and you get super excited, like, yes. And they say, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do it like this. At the end of the year, we're going to look and see if you've earned a profit for our nonprofit. And if you've earned at least a 10% profit, we are going to give you on your pay at least a 5% bump up. You're excited. But then they go on and say, hey, but if you don't earn a profit of at least 10%, we are not going to pay you the bonus, and neither are we going to pay you at all. Do you go for that deal? No, you don't go for that deal. Why? Because it's a bad deal. In that very same way, a lot of grant writers feel the same way when someone is approaching them about possibly doing a grant proposal on a commission or a percentage basis. Now, let me break this down for you. I've given you one example right there why most grant writers will not work on a commission or contingency or a percentage basis. Let me give you another reason why. Did you know that when you're dealing with a government grant, that those grants can sometimes take anywhere from 6 months to an entire year, not to get funded, just to get reviewed, okay? Now, 6 months to a year. So now let's add on another possible year before your nonprofit actually even gets the funds. So we're talking about at least 2 years right there. Not to mention, maybe it took that grant writer an entire month or a couple of weeks to write the actual proposal. So that's a second reason, because they could possibly be working and then at the end of the day, it's still not get funded, okay? So they put in the work, and now that means their kids don't get fed. They don't have money to take care of their light bills and their gas bills and all of that. It's not a fair deal. And let me give you one more reason why most grant writers don't work on a percentage basis. The third reason is when you are dealing with government money or even foundation money, when you write the proposal, you've proposed what you're going to do with the funds. And unless you've stated as a line item, this is how we're going to use the funds and we're going to pay the grant writer to write the grant, unless you've stated that in the grant proposal, then if you take the money and you repurpose the money or redirect the funds without the consent of those who've given the money, you're putting yourself and your organization at legal risk and will most likely have to pay that money back and could possibly even go to jail for some of that type of stuff, okay? So those are 3 reasons why grant writers don't work on a contingency basis as well as a commission basis, because it really doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I hope you've taken this information, because I really want you, as you approach a potential grant writer, not to come off sounding unintelligent and not to come off sounding cheap. When you're working with a grant writer, you got to find a good grant writer. I got some other videos coming down the pipeline that you may want to check out that's going to talk about how to choose a good grant writer. But for now, I want to remind you to be brave in all your dealings, to be bold, and to be brilliant. Take charge and go find a good grant writer that can help get you funded. But get ready to pony up. All the best.